Slimehouse TV, myself Theo Cane, and welcome to a really impromptu video. I just got back, I've been to HMV in town in Sheffield and picked this up. This is something that I had click and collect delivered and I pre-ordered it a good couple of months ago now. Shouts to Stephen Mason from Lonely Tree Entertainment for letting me know that this were coming out, because he works at a HMV store, so he had like inside intel to know that this was coming out, and he let me know, so I had to order it straight away. It's £150, so at first I was like, oh, it's a lot of money to spend on Blu-rays, but already these have been put on eBay. I saw one today for £330, buy it now. Not that a buy it now eBay price should ever be something that's considered the legit price that something is worth or that something should be sold for, but it's just an indicator that people are putting these up already. It's really rare. So without further ado, I'm going to open it up and we can have a look what's inside. It says it's fragile. And also, I haven't had a look online like what this looks like inside or anything. I don't really know like what it consists of, apart from it's some kind of comic that's got all the Showa Era movies in. There we go. Oh, it's pretty heavy as well. It's like a book. Look at that, it's got book pages in it. So automatically I thought it was like a cardboard comic thing that just had the DVDs in, and straight away I'm seeing it's so much more than that. Smells like fresh new shit, you know me, I like to smell that fresh unboxed newness. Got a nice like, oh, it's got like a nice waxy feel. Wax, feels like quality. Look at that, fucking beautiful artwork. I love the pink and yellow as well, very punk, they're very punk colours. Pink, yellow, blue, almost looks like Nevermind the Bollocks, Sex Pistols album. First thing we've got a nice big fuck off Godzilla picture, and he's fighting jets and he's stomping through some city buildings. He looks like he's snapped a Tokyo Tower in a half there. Ruthless. So it basically looks like it's a whole book. Like we've got here like the Reign of Destruction, a whole book inside talking about what every Godzilla movie. So I take it the first part of the book is a whole roundup of the movies and what the Showa Era is. The Showa Era is Emperor Showa, the name of the guy that ruled Japan at the time when all these movies were made. So the first ever one was made in 1954. All the way to 1975 when they made the Terror of Mechagodzilla. And then after that time, they made lots of other Godzilla movies, but they retconned all these, and these are all my favourites. So after all this 15 movies, they retconned the story and they started Godzilla again with a movie that was a direct sequel to the very first original Godzilla film. And those films are cool, they've got wicked effects, but they're not my favourite Godzilla films. They're not the ones that I was buying as a kid and what I grew up on. These Showa Era Godzilla films, these are my favourites, and why this was really special that I wanted to get it is because these films have never been released on Blu-ray or DVD in England, ever. You could get them on VHS in the 90s. I used to go to like random places like Sainsbury's and shit, and they had the Godzilla collection and you could buy them then, and I used to watch the fucking shit out of them, and that's why I've got such a love for Godzilla films nowadays. This is why I go to Japan and climb to the top of the Godzilla hotel and make videos about it and collect Godzilla toys, because those movies, I fucking love them so much. When I first discovered them, and I've never not loved them. And when DVD and Blu-ray came out, I always wanted to upgrade and get better quality copies of these films, and you just couldn't get them. So up until this point, I've always had to make do with VHS and like shitty downloaded rips of them and that kind of thing. Always having to compromise the quality to be able to watch them. Not anymore. So let's have a look what we got inside. It starts with Godzilla, aka Gojira, the first ever Godzilla film that was made in 1954. It's a fucking awesome movie as well, man. It's an old black and white one. I believe there's two versions. There's one that's all Japanese, and then they filmed some American parts with American actors and cut that in for the American release. This was like a reaction to when Nagasaki got bombed in 1945, the atomic bomb that ended World War II. This is a reaction of that. Godzilla was born out of nuclear fire. And out of all of them, this was the one that was really trying to say something, and it did fucking say something because it spawned an entire saga of movies. Then in 1955 we got Godzilla raids again, and that's the first time that we see Godzilla go up against another creature, and he goes against Anguirus, who is like a giant triceratops porcupine. Anguirus becomes one of his main allies. He teams up with Anguirus in so many of the movies. One of the things I love about the Showa era as well, all the way through the Showa era, Godzilla is teaming up with different monsters, even teams up with a robot at one point, Jet Jaguar. My favourite entry into all the Godzillas is Godzilla vs Megalon, where he teams up with a fucking robot that can grow to giant size, and it helps him fight Megalon and Gigan. That is my personal Showa era movie, and that is also in this collection. In 1963, Godzilla went up against fucking King Kong. He fought King Kong. The two biggest monsters on screen fought each other. It was always a crazy scenario for me because height-wise, Godzilla's like 10 times the size of King Kong. And in that movie, 1 minute King Kong is picking up a human, and the human's the same size as his hand, and then he's fighting Godzilla, who is like stomping on buildings. So the height ratio thing was always fucking weird, but it was just so cool to see those two things fighting on screen. A little bit after that, Toho, the guys that make these movies, made a film called King Kong Escapes, which was a direct sequel to King Kong vs Godzilla, where King Kong fought Gorosaurus, which is a wicked, like, Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is again one of my favourite monsters out of all the Toho Kaiju. And then he fights a Mecha Kong, which is basically a digger. They build it to dig, but rather than build an actual digger, they build a giant King Kong mechanized Mecha Kong, and obviously at the film King Kong inevitably ends up fighting it. And those films aren't rare to get. You can get King Kong vs Godzilla, and you can get King Kong Escapes in like Asda and shit. I swear I got on both from Asda. There was a point in like 2006, 2005 where I was online looking for movies, and to get a copy of Godzilla vs King Kong, it was like $100 fucking, man. It was so expensive for that one movie. Years later, you can get it in Asda. There's also a big remake of Godzilla vs King Kong coming from Legendary Pictures, so no doubt they're going to re-release that in Asda as well. King Kong vs Godzilla and King Kong Escapes. Any of those movies that have got King Kong in the title that they can repackage and put out, like King Kong Lives and stuff, you can get them in places like Asda for like a $5 whenever there's a new King Kong movie out. Then we've got Godzilla vs Mothra. Originally Mothra was called The Thing. There was a Mothra movie that came out before this, another one that I can't get anywhere in this country that I need to track down, but there's a Mothra movie and it's just called The Thing, and then sometimes this was packaged as Godzilla vs The Thing, or here is Masura Tai Gojira, Mothra vs Godzilla, but again Mothra became one of his main allies throughout all the movies. Most of these monsters, there's a movie where he fights them, and then later on he becomes friends with them, allies, and they fight alien monsters together. Also check this one, we've got Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, and check that sick like Aztec kind of artwork out. That's fucking awesome. This is the first ever time that we saw King Ghidorah, who became a mainstay throughout this series. King Ghidorah, the three-headed golden dragon, has become like Godzilla's nemesis. He's like the Joker to the Batman, and this was the first time that we saw him. Very fucking cool. It was also the first time that we saw Godzilla go against an alien, invader, an alien adversary. Soon after that, they did Invasion of the Astro Monsters, where King Ghidorah came back and Godzilla teamed up with Rodan, and they actually go out to space to fight King Ghidorah on his home turf. Then there's Hedorah, Horror of the Deep, where Godzilla goes against a giant lobster. And I love lobsters. I fucking love crustaceans. I've got a pet crab. I had a pet shrimp crayfish for many years that I fucking loved. I was so wounded when it died. I love giant fucking crustaceans, man. And in this one, Hedorah, Horror of the Deep, Godzilla goes to an island and he fights a giant fucking lobster. It's also got Mothra in there as well. Next up came the son of Godzilla, and a lot of this film is Godzilla teaching his son how to not be a weakling. It's also got some cool monsters in this one. We've got Komonga, which is a giant spider. We've got a couple of Kamakoris, which are praying mantis. But this is a point in the franchise where they were taking a bit of a left turn and marketing these movies more to kids. So this and Hedorah, Horror of the Deep, are a lot more child friendly. Then came Destroy All Monsters, and Destroy All Monsters, this fucking bad boy was like the Avengers Assemble of the Toho monsters. This had all the main characters. It didn't have King Kong because they didn't have the license to put King Kong in those movies then, but it had everyone else. So you've got Baragon, who featured in a movie all of his own. He featured in Frankenstein vs. Baragon, another wicked Toho production. It's got Anguirus, it's got the Mothra Caterpillar, it's got Gorosaurus from King Kong Escapes, it's got Rodan, it's got so many cool monsters. And what's really funny about this film is that these aliens take control of all the different monsters from all over the world, and they've got them all destroying different parts of the world. One's destroying Paris, one's destroying America, one's destroying Tokyo, and then at the end of the film, all those monsters team up against fucking King Ghidorah, and it's so cruel. Like, even though King Ghidorah is like the evil one, this is literally like 10 monsters just bashing the fuck out of King Ghidorah for half an hour. But it's fucking hilarious, and it's like a wrestling style beatdown that lasts way longer than it should. It's really fucking weird, but it's really fucking awesome. Destroy All Monsters was like the original world building Avengers movie. This is really weird because I didn't know this was in it, but it's fucking awesome because I was... The OCD collector in me was kind of like, oh, I'm going to have to track down this one movie if it's not part of the set. There's a movie called All Monsters Attack, and basically it's about a kid who has a dream, and then in his dream he teams up with the son of Godzilla who can speak to him, and the monster's speaking it, and there's a new monster and he's a bully, and this little kid is also getting bullied, and that monster is bullying the son of Godzilla, and it's all about overcoming a bully. A lot of people don't consider it as an actual Godzilla movie, so it's crazy that it's even in this collection, but I'm really happy it is because, like I said, I was going to have to seek that one out individually, and now I don't have to. Like I said at the start of this video, the first ever Godzilla film was like a reaction, a response to the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima at the end of World War II, and I said that was like the only one that was kind of like saying something, having like an actual real life message. I forgot all about this one, Godzilla vs. Hedorah. So in this, Godzilla vs. the smog monster, which is a monster that's conjured out of toxic waste and the toxic smog and the pollution and all the shit that we generate as humans, all created this monster called Hedorah.
Out of the polluted waters it came, to become the most fearful menace that ever threatened mankind. Feeding, growing ever more deadly on smog.
And he takes many forms, and that's become one of the most like iconic images in Godzilla. It's also one of the most sought after toys. Whenever I go to Tokyo and I'm in the toy shops and I'm looking and I want to get a Hedorah toy, they're always so expensive, and he's literally like a big slimy slob monster. He has no actual real form. He has these two weird like octopus like kind of shaped eyes on his head. He's a real simple figure, but he's the one that's always expensive. People love Hedorah the smog monster. And I love Hedorah the smog monster. Then we had Godzilla vs. Gigan. Again, Gigan was like a mainstay in the Toho universe from this point on. He's like a giant robot chicken with hooks for hands. Later on, he had chainsaws for hands. He's got a chainsaw on his chest like a buzzsaw. And he's an alien cyborg creature that comes to Earth, and Godzilla has to fight him with Anguirus. At the end of the movie, again, King Ghidorah turns up just to level the playing field because they didn't want to do like Godzilla Destroy All Monsters again when it was 20 monsters just bashing one bad guy. In this, we have King Ghidorah and we have Gigan against Anguirus, which is now Godzilla's like whole type brethren. They team up so many times, and them two fight off the space aliens once again. Next up is my favourite one ever, Godzilla vs. Megalon. Like I said earlier, this film features a character called Jaguar, who is a human-built robot that can grow to the size of Godzilla. It was kind of like their take on Ultraman. I've heard rumours that originally they wanted to have Ultraman in this film, but they couldn't, so instead they created like their own character, Jaguar. But I fucking love this guy. He only ever features in one movie, but I love the design of his face. People often said to me, if you could have one movie prop from any movie, what would it be? And the answer is always Jaguar. Gigan's back, and him and this new character Megalon that's like a bug that lives underground. He's summoned by a race of creatures, humans, that live underground, and they want to take over the surface of Earth, so they send up their prize monster titan Megalon, which is like a giant bug with drills for hands. He spits bombs. This film's fucking crazy. There's so much like weird shit going on in this film. There's so many times where Godzilla and Jaguar are fighting back to back. And there's this fucking hilarious bit that's become like infamous now with Godzilla, where Godzilla does this mad flying, gravity-defying drop kick. Megalon's all dazed like he's in a wrestling ring, and Jaguar gets hold of him in a lock like that and holds him there, and Godzilla runs up and does this drop kick where he just flies and defies gravity and fucking kicks into Megalon, and then he's like, yo, pick him up again, let me have one more go at that drop kick, I can do it better this time, let me have another go. It's so fucking funny, and Jaguar picks him up again, and Godzilla's like, okay, I'm ready, okay, go, and he does it again. It's just like, it's like watching wrestling, and that's probably one of the reasons I loved this shit so much as a kid, because it was just like wrestling, and it was so fun and stupid, and it was guys in suits, but it was just fucking amazing. You never see Jaguar again, and you never see Megalon again, but the next movie that came out introduced a character that we saw throughout the entire Godzilla series, and again became like his main nemesis next to Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, and it's this guy, Mechagodzilla. This is when we get Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Again, some fucking bad boy artwork, proper comic book art. In fact, looking at that, that's probably like my favourite art throughout the entire book, because I love comic high-inked art, and this is just like a fucking awesome example of that. They build a giant robot doppelganger of Godzilla, and Godzilla has to fight it, but he teams up with another character that we only ever see once again years later in Godzilla Final Wars, and it's another king. It's King Caesar, who is like a giant Japanese dog. I don't know why they didn't feature this thing in more movies, because it's awesome. It's another one of Godzilla's allies. He teams up with this guy and he fights Mechagodzilla. It's fucking awesome. And then last up, we've got the final film from the Showa Era, and it's Terror of Mechagodzilla. So Mechagodzilla's back, and this time he's got an ally, and it's Titanosaurus, and Godzilla has to fight both of them. He doesn't have a brethren teaming up with him in this one. He hasn't got no son of Godzilla, there's no Anguirus, there's no Jaguar or King Caesar or any of his regular allies. It's just him versus them, and this is the final one of the films, and it's such a shame that they rebooted it after that. And I know that they're always going to reboot stuff, and things will always get rebooted and remade, but this is the final one, and this is the final film that we ever saw this version of Godzilla go up against any kaiju. And now for the main part, the reason why we're actually here. The back page is all the movies. Check that, all the movies are like sunk into a page there, like a pop-up book. So overall, it's a really nice set, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch all these movies from start to finish, and they're all on Blu-ray, so some of these films I've never seen on anything other than like an old VHS or on like a shitty rip or something like that. This is going to be the first time that I can actually sit down and watch these in the pure, crisp, fucking nice Blu-ray quality. And when I watch a movie, I have all the lights off, I get myself a nice drink, maybe some popcorn, I get the sound turned up nice, and I just watch it properly how a movie is supposed to be watched. I don't sit on my phone fucking Instagramming and shit like that. I get so pissed off if you come round my house to watch a movie and then you spend all the time watching it sat on your phone scrolling through fucking wank. So I'm going to watch these properly. That's the way to watch a movie, and I can't wait to get stuck straight into these fucking things. I hope you like this little weird impromptu review. The thing with me is I buy so many crazy rare Blu-rays and movies. Like, I go out my way seeking out crazy whole like genres of films that I either loved growing up or ones that I never watched before, and I'll seek them out and I'll go through them all and watch them properly. And it's something that I love as much as toys. I love it just as much as toys, but I'm always struggling to find a way to bring that shit over to this channel and make it so it's not just like every other YouTube reviewer. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to clog this channel up with loads of shit just for the sake of it, and I've got like a mad wealth of knowledge of Italian and Japanese and mad cinema, but I don't want to just be there like, yeah, I watched this film, it's directed by this guy, this happens in it, this is a fact about it. I don't want to be that guy, so it's just about me finding a way to bring that stuff to the channel and make it so that it's different and exclusive and feels like it's just Slimehouse TV. So if you've got any ideas, hit me up on Instagram at Theo_Cane_Slimehouse, or drop a comment on here, and let's see if we can make this like more of a regular thing, talking about cool movies on the channel. I'm Theo Cane, this is Slimehouse TV. Can't wait to get into my Godzilla fucking Blu-ray box set. Thank you so much for releasing it, Criterion, and for HMV for putting it out, and for taking my pre-order and not messing me about and getting it to me a little bit early as well, which is always fucking nice. So yeah, catch you in the next video. For now, we're gone. Boom.